Finally got my hands on doing a review of this film. It took over the top charts as soon as it was released, and the advertising for this horror film certainly did its thing. I mean, everybody had their eyes on it. The title, the idea, the mystery was very much new and exciting. Could it be the best horror film of 2022? Could it make into the list of the best psychological horror films out there? I went to the cinema and found out for myself, of course. Also, warning, spoilers ahead, obviously. I'd highly suggest watching it first if you care at all to do so, then come back to this video as I'll be making some interesting and significant points. Towards the end, you'll certainly be able to form your own opinion whether it's worth streaming or not. Is it a stream or is it a pass? Smile appears to have a great setup. A victim of horrific abuse is pursued by a mystery curse that causes trauma, fear, ridicule, and ultimately death. It's quite similar to The Ring, but instead of spooky children, you're doomed by a terrible grin that follows you everywhere you go. Sadly, a significant screenplay flaw. Our hero, being the least fascinating character in the film, causes the cool idea to fall kind of flat. Rose Cotter is afflicted with a curse that haunts her with ominous smiles, although the way she goes about it makes her character appear quite underwhelming. She plays the logical urban character in her role as a well-respected therapist in the style of folk horror. She works in a struggling hospital and provides care for patients despite the fact that they cannot afford to give her a large hourly wage. However, Rose's goodness does not immediately endear her to the audience as the writer and director Parker Finn might have wanted. The fact that the characters around Rose get to have their own moments to shine could be part of the issue. Her sister Holly is the stereotypical wine-swilling suburban housewife who grouses about parenting in between sly compliments. Greg, Holly's husband, shares her enthusiasm as a succinctly snooty dunderhead whose crude remarks and easy greed make for unpleasant but effective punchlines. As Rose's colleague at the hospital, Dr. Morgan exhibits flushed worry, and Joelle portrays a sensitive, slightly brooding police officer. Even Judy Reyes from Scrubs make an appearance for a tear-jerking scene filled with loss and wrath. Even the actress playing Rose throws herself into the furious physicality of terror and slippery shrieks. They all provide color, while Rose as a character remains kind of steadfastly colorless. It's not that being a kind, decent person is monotonous by nature. Although Sidney Prescott from Scream and Laurie Strode from Halloween are both good ladies, they also have a little bit of attitude that suggests they can defend themselves if necessary. With its nod to this final girl cliché, Smile crosses over into the slasher subgenre, but Finn never gives Rose this vital dynamism she needs to convince us that she has some grit to her. Rose has the human richness that makes for a fascinating horror heroine without this salty contrast, and she comes out as too vague and unreal. Because of the distance, the audience found it comical instead of screaming in response to her struggle for survival as her smiling assailant closed in. The fact that Stacy's character dominates the provoking episode may be Smile's biggest concern. Caitlin Stacy, who gives a horrifying and complete arc in one all-too-brief sequence, is the owner of the eerie smile you've seen plastered across promotional posters and the image you're currently looking at. Caitlin Stacy, a college student, approaches Rose with an unbelievable story. The battered girl hints at an off-screen conflict that has robbed her of sleep and calm as she walks with heavy exhaustion, but very electrifyingly on edge. She makes absurd assertions about a being that looks like people and dons their skin like a mask, and her black eyes ooze of desperation. Stacy's exhaustion and confusion are captivating, and her squeals of horror, while no one else can see the source of her terror, are, honestly to say the least, nerve-wracking. Few horror movie screams have ever given that effect, but Stacy's gave me goosebumps. Then, abruptly, a huge, purposefully startling smile spreads across her face. Honestly, that scene will take you by surprise. It will grab you by your throat. Stacy has established herself as a recognizable horror icon in just a few short minutes. Unfortunately, nothing else in Smile is as genuinely terrifying as this opening scene. Okay, let's say perhaps you don't watch horror in order to find a hero. Maybe all you want is some thoughtless fun and terror. If so, you are in luck, since Smile is prepared with nasty scenes of imaginative mutilations and grisly murders. Depending on the actor doing it, the main Smile gag works to varied degrees, but it is surprisingly and regrettably hardly used. But eventually, these bizarre face deformities come together to reveal a terrifying creature that, while not particularly original, is still incredibly terrifying to witness. Just have a look for yourself. Yeah. Too many of the film's intended thrills, though, are merely jump scares, such as threatening figure emerging from a shadowy recess, or a loud noise evoking fear at something unremarkable like opening a can of cat food. Finn does a great job of building up these little surprises, so even if you see them coming, the payout will still make you jump. While this can be entertaining, his over-reliance on these ominous prettifications come off as cheap and lightweight without a simmering boil of suspense to maintain the momentum. This is Smile's greatest tragedy. Instead of being a gory story about a therapist who followed her patient into a dark alley, it is about a premise that was kind of wasted on jump scares and an uninteresting lead character. A reoccurring theme concerning ringing phones and what they ultimately represent to Rose is one of those moments of promise. Additionally, with his folk horror culture clash, his slasher final girl, and a cunning curse that turns every structure into a haunted house, Finn ambitiously experiments with several horror cliches. The result is that Smile is no more than a spooky watch because he fails to give us a I cannot say that word. I can't. Heroine we can't help but feel connected to. It might have been the kind of ominous movie that follows you inside your house, sneaks through the door, climbs the stairs, and curls up inside your skull, taunting you to fall asleep. So, Smile feels just like a temporary scare. The one that startles you for a moment until you move on, forgetting about it along the way. So, stream it or pass on it? The answer is kind of in the middle. If you're seeking cheap thrills, you'll be in for exactly that with this film. And if you're a person looking for something deeper than just the shell of a horror film, then you can easily skip this one as you won't miss out much, honestly. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a thumbs up and comment down below. Will you stream it or will you pass? Do let me know though, what's your opinion on this film if you have seen it? This is it for the video, my dear horror-driven friend, and I will see you again in my next one.